Welcome to episode 829 of IMTalk, your weekly fix in all things Iron Man. Rightio team, welcome along to episode 829 of Iron Talk with Coach John Newsom, Bevan James Oz. How you going, mate?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Bevan.
I've got a new flatmate.
You got a new flatmate?
Yeah, John Newsom.
Yeah, I'm hanging out today.
Yeah. Well, you give me a text that I'm desperate. Can I hang out at your house? Mate, come anytime.
Power's off the day. Roadwork's happening in our street.
For the whole day.
It's like the shittiest day of winter in Christchurch, just about. So it's like, any other day would have been good. But hey, we'll have good power supply for the rest of our lives.
I tell you, it's made. IMTalk is proudly brought to you by
Form Goggles.
Get the most real-time metrics, hundreds of guided workouts, and lap-by-lap motivation. Check them out at www.formswim.com. Those are the goggles that give you the information as you're swimming.
And I'll talk through sort of the basics of it later in the show.
Yeah, highly recommend. And our patrons.
Marion creaming the moose herring.
We've got Christina steaming up the room, Ahmed.
And William Treasure Chest Lockwood.
This week's show, we've got some news. We've got a hot topic of the week. We've got a Coach's Corner.
About walking, Bevan. I was walking on my run the other day, on my long run. I thought this might be a little bit of a topic to use for the show.
When you say walking...
Well, I was not aimlessly walking. It was actually a little bit muddy. I was forced to walk, but I still thought this might be...
How long's your long run right now?
What did I do? I think I did an hour 40-ish.
Where are you running? What day are you running?
Thursday. Oh, no, it's going to change to Wednesday, actually, this week from now on.
How about Sunday?
Sorry, not Sunday. No.
I've started running long on Sunday.
No.
No. Fine then.
Yeah.
You can't, no longer my flatmate. We've also got an interview.
We're just going to have a quick interview because one of our listeners I knew was doing the Western States 100 at the weekend. This is a 100-mile race in California, and I thought it'd be good just to get someone on to have a quick chat about that. It's a pretty iconic race.
We've got a product review. We're going to talk about the Form Goggles. And then we've got Winger of the Week questions and answers at the end. We've got a really good feedback about the German Ironman. That's quite fascinating. We'll talk about that later on. Okay, Ironman Germany happened over the weekend. One thing I was thinking as I was looking at the show notes this morning, is this other than PTO, because PTO has changed the game and money for pros, but is this the easiest year ever for second-tier pros to make money?
Yeah, I'd probably say it would be. There's going to be a lot of mid-season races with not a lot of people racing, as we've sort of seen this weekend. So,
because you had St George,
you
got Collins Cup, you have the 70.3 Kona,
and you've got the two PTO races.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It's going to be pretty thin. So
for these Ironmen, like the second tier, like we look at the German field and nothing against the athletes here, but if we look at the females field, like who came third? We've had her on the show before.
Timothy Lee Duke.
Oh, she's well done, getting third.
Yeah.
Only 6 people racing, only 4 people finishing.
It wasn't the European Championships for the females, so.
But there's still a payday.
Still a payday, absolutely.
And so like someone like Timothy, that's Timothy Lee, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I just think second tier pros this year, and even the men's race, Ironman Germany, Dennis Chevrolet, he's a good athlete.
Yep. I think he's a highly underrated athlete. So we'll go on to the results because Dennis Chevrolet took it out, and we've got to say, despite what Bevan's saying there, we had 4 sub 8 hour performances on the boys' side. I wasn't able to find any stats in terms of course accuracy, but I think it's usually pretty good there, I think.
Yeah.
So that's sensational. So in 2:38.44, that is quick. He's got a history of doing some amazing run splits. So he swam 48, rode 4:20, and did a 2:38.44 with about a 4-minute victory, or 3.5, 7:52.53 over Robert Wilkowicki. I'm going to look him up because I know absolutely nothing about him other than he's from Poland. He's currently got a ranking of 163, finished 4th in Germany. He won 70.3 Warsaw in June. Last year he got 4th in Cozumel, DNF'd in Germany. His other rankings were in the 20s and 30s.
To get 8th in Barcelona in 2019.
Oh, I like how you sort of did your little Barcelona there, Bevan. It's very Spanish of you. So that's an awesome race for him to step up and do a 7:56. Clement Mignon, who I think this might have been his first Ironman, he was 3rd in 7:58. And rounding out the sub-8s was Paul Schuster in 7:59. So yeah, awesome racing on the boys' side. What's Dennis Chevrolet's biggest race? So he's won Ironman Western Australia a few times. Last year he won Ironman Austria, won 70.3 Warsaw, 4th in Tulsa. Doesn't look like he's really...
Is he at a Kona top 10?
He went to Kona in 2018, he got 26th, got 32nd in 2017, 23rd in 2016, DNF the year before.
So good second tier, really, isn't he? I know he's won some races, but he hasn't performed at the next level.
Yeah, he seems to perform well at second tier races to a very high standard, but maybe at the big ones
doesn't kind of pull through.
Not quite as good, but awesome performance by him. On the females side, and the females were an hour and 10 minutes slower than the boys. Daniela Blaymeyer was first in a 9:02.
And she's a good athlete. She's won road.
Mm-hmm. And Nikki Bartlett, another good athlete, was a couple of minutes back, so reasonably close racing, and then another 10 minutes back to Timothy Lee Duke. So as Bevan said, only 4 finishes on the female side. On the boys, 22 finishes, quite a few DNFs. Holy crap. A lot of DNFs.
So you're saying you think it's going to be interesting for the PTO points because some of these weaker fields are getting fast times?
Yeah, I'm just going to be interested to see how the points distribution goes and how that sort of formula works when these guys, they're going sub-8, so you'd think they're going to get reasonable points, but you haven't got those rock stars.
Because it's Dawson who's doing it, does that consider the field? Or is it just the race?
I'm not quite sure on that.
Yeah, is it the history of the race?
Yeah.
Because you kind of, if I imagine if Dawson's going kind of, you got Kona first, and then you have your second tier races, which is probably going to be like Germany in most years. Germany normally would sit, you're normally outside of Ironman, in the Ironman world, Germany was the second most important race of the year, really, wasn't it? So it'll be interesting to see if these guys credit from that. Ironman France.
Yep, and we had Rudy von Berg doing his first Ironman. You kind of expected that he was, even though he hadn't done one before, he was probably the favourite, and he went out there and did the business.
Pretty slow time. Is it really hard course, is it?
Oh, yeah, the bike course is pretty tricky.
8:24, you don't see that much nowadays, do you?
No, so he swam 50, rode a 4:38 and ran a 2:48. Read his little Facebook post, sounded like he was starting to struggle a bit on the run, but luckily William Menison, who was second, was struggling a little bit more because they came off the bike, a little bit of a gap between them, but Rudy von Berg managed to do a 2:48 for an 8:24.35. Whilst he races for America, Nice is kind of his hometown race, and then we had another 3 Frenchies in second, third and fourth. On the female side, only 6 finishes, and Svenja Tholes took that out by a whopping dojo domination. She did 9 hours and 18 minutes, and second place Alexandra Tondeur was 24 minutes behind her, so a crushing victory. And yeah, when we look at the old the 1 hour barometer, she was 54 minutes slower than the boys, so that's a pretty respectable performance.
Rudy von Berg, I just went on his YouTube channel. It's amazing how many pros. This part of your job is to get that social media thing nowadays. He's got really high production videos. They're quite beautiful. Not getting a huge amount of views, but at this stage. But literally, he's only done 3, so I imagine it will build. But it's a big part of their job now is the audience building, isn't it?
Well, if you want sponsors, it is.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Flora Duffy bike didn't make her. What happened here, John?
Well, so because I knew that Flora Duffy was supposed to be racing in 70.3 in Mont Tremblant at the weekend, and I was thinking this is going to be great. She's going to go out there and crush it and prove us all right that she's amazing across the medium course or middle course distances. But I didn't see her name and results, and I thought, what happened there? Did she blow up? Did she crash? Did she not start? And she didn't start because the bike didn't turn up. She was flying in a couple of days before. Bike didn't turn up. Her husband actually went down to the airport on race morning and was trying to get the bike back in time to do it. Just didn't turn up. Her disc wheel turned up apparently, but the bike did not. And
she couldn't get one?
Well, she possibly could have.
Surely.
She's pretty small, so I think it would have been a real challenge for a regular sized person like you and I. Medium, you'd probably be able to find one. I don't actually know what height she is, but I'm pretty sure she's quite small. To find small female bikes is not that easy, and so
if someone like Flora Duffy turns up, you get a bike for her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If you're in Christchurch and you get a call from someone saying, "Mate, Flora Duffy's in town. She's racing this weekend. Can you get her a bike?"
Yeah,
you're getting her a bike.
But I think she turned up quite late. Like she only turned up maybe 2 days before the race. So I think she's.
Where was she racing?
Sorry,
because whoever's in that community is Sharpen up.
Mont Tremblant community, hang your head in shame.
Hang your
But she might not have let anybody know. Who knows? Anyway, she didn't race. That was going to be a chance to qualify for the 70.3 Worlds, and she's probably going back to do the World Triathlon Circuit now. So hopefully we haven't missed our opportunity to see her race at the 70.3 Worlds.
They'll give her a wild card, won't they?
Well, I hope so, because that's legitimate. She would have. If she hadn't won, she would have gotten the top cup at 2, and she would have got a slot. She made the intent to go there. Different story when if you just wanted a wild card, you'd go, well, you didn't really make any effort to go and do it. And
she's the name you wanted at the race.
Oh,
you know, absolutely. It's like the Olympic, like the Kona with the Olympic champions. You know, like you want Flora Duffy there.
So hopefully she asked for a wild card, and hopefully they just offer her one.
The PTO have announced the female field for the Canadian Open. It's happening on the 23rd and 24th of July. The rock stars are there, but we are missing Reef, Haig and Matthews.
Oh, Daniela, Haig might be racing. That said, she's playing her cards close to her chest because she is doing Rote this weekend. So hopefully she might be there, but it sounds like Daniela Reef, her name's not on the list, and there's no mention of Kat Matthews either. But outside of that, it's basically a World Championships field, and I know when you haven't got the biggest rock star Daniela Reef there, it does take a bit away, and it doesn't. I think I saw the men's list the other day, and I don't think Frodeno is down there either. But they're doing Rote, for them to turn around from Rote in 3 weeks' time
are more favourable.
They are, but
I get it.
If you go and pump out a really hard Ironman, some of these athletes can turn around and do it, but if you want to be,
especially if you're thinking Kona,
best of your performance, it's like, well, I could go and do it, but Kona's actually more important for me. I'm better off to recuperate, and then hopefully maybe they'll do the American one.
So do you know the dates?
What dates?
Canadians, obviously.
Well, this one's 23rd, 24th of July, and the other one is timed quite nicely before Kona, so the timing is good.
So you've got Collins Cup in August.
And then it's in September at some stage, I'm pretty sure.
Now, does that clash with, is the 7.3s after Kona this year?
7.3 Worlds is late this year, so everything fits in perfectly.
Well, interestingly, so next year, because, this year, in the last couple of years, obviously been COVID affected. When we think of next year, are all these races going to be at the same time?
You should ask people that organise the races.
Well, no, because it's like we're kind of getting...
You'll have that 70
between July to August, it's packed with all these big races. Are we going to see, like, are they having an Australasian PTO race?
Not, they're going to have an Asian one.
And where's that going to be?
Don't know.
Yeah, well, do your homework. I ask random questions.
I'm not a walking encyclopedia.
Come on, you
of the
are.
PTO
you're the
race dates.
You're the triathlon encyclopedia. That's what people call you. So, because the thing I'm interested in is, going back to my point earlier, is it going to be easier for second-tier pros to make money long term from Ironman? Because let's be honest, all the top guys are going to go PTO races now.
You'd hope so, and there's $1 million on the line. Yep. And money isn't the massive driver. If you're the top guy in the world, money's still a motivator, I'm sure, but your big thing is I want to win Kona
and it's your organisation.
Big races. Yeah, so
you're going to back PTO. So you got that. You're going to have Kona every year. Then you're going to have your 70.3 champs every year. Mm-hmm. That's 5 races already.
Mm-hmm. And you've got to qualify for Kona somewhere.
Yeah. So
if
we go back to that second-tier pro, and I know this year is unique because lots of people raced St. George earlier in the year, and it's kind of changed the dynamic of the year. But I kind of wonder if moving forward, the second-tier pros gets a lot of benefit, not just from PTO having their races, but from the lack of competition in other races around the world.
And I think that could be a good thing. It's taken years and years and years. The World Triathlon, in terms of their races, they have the World Triathlon Series. All the big kahunas always turn up to those. And then you've got World Cups. And these days, World Cups they're competitive.
Really?
You occasionally get a big gun turning up to them. But in terms of the standard and the development for athletes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
If you win a World Cup race, then you can quite easily step up and do probably mid-pack at a World Triathlon Series. So hopefully, for the development of those athletes, then it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There was a few 70.3s at the weekend. We had Challenge Walshy, Simone Kulmhofer took that out. Frederick Fonk beat Sam Long. He got a penalty. Sam Long didn't dismount at the right point, but he's racing
a bit
road.
recently, isn't it?
Sorry, we had 70.3 Eisenhower. Emma Pallant-Brown beat out Ashley Gentle, and Daniel Beckengard beat out his mate Mickey Tagholt. And then we had 70.3 Mont Tremblant. Tamara Jewett smoked everybody there, and Lionel Sanders took out the boys' race.
Okay, this weekend, one of the big iconic races of the year, Challenge Route, is happening, and we've got a bit of competition in the men's race. It's going to be pretty fascinating thing. If you're a betting person, you're probably going to say Frodeno, but you got Frodeno and Langer, and then Haug is happening in the females race. Other than that, they're the rock stars, really, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, but it's a good field. But, yeah, I'm fascinated to see how Frodeno and Langer go, given they're both on the comeback from injuries. So you got no form leading into it. Yeah, you'd put your money on Frodeno if he's 100%, but you don't really know with either of them what sort of percentage fitness they're at. So it's going to be great. Keenlay was down to race as well. I don't think he would have been threatening these guys, but he had COVID and had a crash, so he's pulled out. So it's a bit of a disappointing end to his career when he's struggled a bit of late with injuries and what have you. So that's a shame for him. I imagine
that's a lot of pros end of their career bad, isn't it? You know, like there's not many pros just kind of win and finish. Chrissy, you know, there are a couple. But,
Mark Allen. Yeah, there are a few. Magnus Ditlev, be interesting to see. This is his second Ironman. See how he goes.
Actually, sorry to random. Is this Frodeno's last year? If he wins Kona, does he quit and finish?
You'd almost hope so, because you'd want him to go out on a real high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no insight, but it's kind of cool because, well,
he's 40 now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's even.
Yeah, got to be. Yeah.
Like, you know, if you win Kona, what a swan song. You know, now you could be Dave Scott and just continue on.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I'm with you on that. I'd say had it not been for COVID, he probably would have, you know, maybe given up a year or two ago. But
he's 40. He's actually going to be. He's born a day before me, a few years later. So he'll be 41 by Kona.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, surely.
Will that be, mate? Surely that'll make him the oldest Kona winner. Surely Crowe wasn't. Crowe was right up there.
Crowe was in his 40s.
Yeah.
Kona, no.
That'll be a cool thing to do. The other notable...
I'm going to figure that out while you talk.
The other notable entrance in Rote this weekend on the boys' side, you got Sam Long racing, Kyle Smith. Kyle Smith was leading the race at the World Champs earlier this year, so I'm sure he'll be trying to hang on to Frodeno coming out of the swim and on the bike. And also Cameron Brown is trying to be the fastest 50-year-old ever to do an iron distance race. So he's been battling with running injuries, so hopefully he can go out there and put in a respectable performance. He's been over there for a few weeks training around Rote, so good luck to him. And then, on the female side, you really have got Anne Haug, who you would expect to completely dominate the dojo. She's predicted to come in 20 minutes ahead of Fenella Langridge, but the race for second should be great because on Torsten's tryrating.com, it's predicted that it'll only be 4 minutes covering second place through to fifth, so it should be awesome. And go the Kiwi Rebecca Clark going over there.
Okay, what year do you reckon Corey last won Kona? I know it's
Crowe.
This is Bevan's quiz question.
Where are we now? We're 2022. I would have thought 2013.
That's 2011.
All right.
Yeah, so he's actually must have, I don't know exact age, but he's 48 now, so he's probably around 37. When he won it. So so Frodeno's a lot older. You know, so and Mark Allen went. He was.
Oh, he was nowhere near that old.
Oh, wasn't he?
No.
Dave Scott got second at 41, didn't he?
42.
Wow, especially in those days, that's so impressive, isn't it? You know, because nowadays with science and gear and just the understanding of training and looking after the body is we're 100 times ahead of that. You know, that was a phenomenal effort. Okay, anything else about Route?
That's it. It's an awesome race. If you want to go over there next year, I'm going to be having my camp, so you can check that out on the Epic Camp website. It is an awesome camp. Awesome way to go and do the race, and if Rote's not on your bucket list, it should be. And the other thing with the camp is we do have slots for the race, and normally to get into the event itself is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So if you want to go, I've still got some spaces. Get in touch.
Golden ticket.
And exactly. Also coming up this weekend, we've got Ironman Austria. Has one Kona slot for the boys, $50,000 paying 10 deep. It's just a pro men's race. You've got Rasmus Svensson, Michael Weiss and Ivan Tuktukin, the top 3 seeds there.
What are the races we have outside of the Ironman world?
There's not a huge amount happening at the weekend. I just think everyone's just building up for my birthday next week, so there's not that much racing. Got
everyone's building up for your birthday.
Yeah.
All the races are cancelled. Newsom's birthday. How old are you? 46, are you?
Yeah.
Jeepers, mate.
The Chi Tri-Man is in France. The Stone Brixia Man is in Italy. I don't know if this one, the Urkman Iron Triathlon, is supposed to be happening in Ukraine. Doubt that'll be happening, unfortunately. Canada Man Extreme, the Bastion in the UK. That's about it.
Okay, so last week we were talking about the Montreal World Triathlon Series race, which was the Eliminator Series, which is basically 3 races, wasn't it?
You had a little qualifying race first day, and that took you to the top 30, males and females. And then on Sunday you had, it was either Saturday or Sunday, maybe it was Saturday, you had 3 races, 30 starters, eliminating 10 after each race.
Now, the thing we were curious about was, would it be a very good spectacle? Was it just basically the last race mattered? You obviously watched it.
I did, and I remember I was thinking when I was watching, I was going, I think I contradicted myself quite badly on the show last week.
Okay, tell me about it.
Well, no, because I said I was worried about athlete welfare, about maxing them out.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, and I said, maybe if you had a point system where you have, maybe you have 10 points for first in the first race, maybe 20 in the second and 30 in the third. I thought, that's a great idea. But then you are forcing the athletes to go max every 3 races in a row. So hypocrite there and contradicting myself.
But was it spectacle? Was it... Or are you just waiting for the last race?
You are, especially on the females race this time round. It was waiting until the last race. The first 2 were a bit of a procession. However, I would say I was genuinely interested in it because we had Kiwis that were going to be on the cusp the whole time.
Okay.
And so I was watching them going, are they going to make it?
So for a hardcore fan who maybe has that country alignment, if you've got people on the bottom end, it can be interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas Joe Public probably is not going to be...
And those ones that are on the cusp gunning it to try and make it. You see them after the first round
because it's a race for the bottom, really, isn't it?
Collapsing on the ground. So the females race did end up to being a procession until the last race. The last race was good. You didn't really know what happened, and it wasn't. If you haven't seen it, it was possibly not the result you were expecting. So that was good racing. And the boys' side of it,
you're not going to say the results. I think
okay.
we don't have to talk about results on the show.
Okay. Yeah. If you don't know the results, fast forward a couple of seconds. Georgia Taylor-Brown took it out. You're expecting Cassandra Bogrand to run away with it. 3 of them got away on the bike. And Cassandra Bogrand was sloppy in transition, and she lost the race in transition.
Oh, really?
It was like she lost about 8 seconds in transition and lost the race by less than 8 seconds.
Is it killing themselves? Like they swim 4 minutes, bike 11 minutes, run 6 minutes.
Oh, you're there on the limit.
Mate, I can't even imagine.
The interesting thing, and I know for people that watch this sort of stuff, is that Cassandra Bogrand is hopeless on the bike. Okay. She doesn't go through and take her turns.
Oh, really?
But
is she a bad cyclist, or she just doesn't do a bit?
Both,
okay.
Yeah. And so strategically say, oh, well, why would you go through?
Of course.
And so on. And I remember, if you remember, a few weeks ago, Flora Duffy dropped her on the bike and forced her off the back.
Yep.
And the thing is, though, with her, is she's a weapon on the run, but she's leading the swim as well. And if you think about it, you go, well, I'm not doing any work on the bike, but I don't see you guys coming around me on the swim and helping on the swim when I'm leading in the swim. So it's like...
And to be honest, as much as I'd probably be pretty pissed off if I was in the pack and she's just holding on to the back... Mate, that's triathlon. Like your job's to get rid of her. You know, like if you've got a weapon runner next to you, you've got to do something on the bike to break them.
And in her case specifically, because she is leading the swim, she's either leading or second. It's like, well, come on, I'm doing the work in the swim.
Yeah,
I'm the fastest runner.
Especially in a race like this, which is so fast. Because
so don't be too hard on Cassandra Bogrand. She is a weapon. The boys' side of it, though, they did look like they had to work a bit harder each round. The top guys were still, well in control, but Alex Yee nearly got eliminated after one of the
rounds.
Really? Well, early on, he had to run quite hard to get through, and then he came through in the final round and just pipped Hayden Wild, who had some challenges on the bike. It wasn't a sprint finish. It did come down to the last 100 metres, and Hayden Wild was leading up until probably 200 or 300 to go, but he had a mechanical on the bike and had to waste a lot of energy on the bike.
So is Yee a better kick?
Yee is that touch better runner. So if every time you're going into it, it's going to be a running race, you're going to go, you're probably going to be together, Yee will probably outkick him. There'll be days when Hayden Wild beats him,
of course,
but you would go, 7 times out of 10, you'd probably put your money on Yee. What would be great to see is some more challenging bike courses, because Hayden Wild is one of the best cyclists. And if you had some really, really hard bike courses, and Yee's not crap on the bike, but if you put him under a bit more pressure.
What are they both like in the swim? Because I see Leo.
They both struggle to make the middle group at best.
Okay.
So they are both vulnerable.
These two are the names at the moment, aren't they?
No one's getting close to these two.
I love it.
And even if they don't make the front group, they're that much better than everybody else, that they'll probably run up.
They're both so young. Because how old is Hayden?
I'd say Hayden's probably 24-ish.
And Hayden and Yee's about the same, isn't he?
Yeah, they're both about the same.
So we've got a good 5-6 years of
They're going
them.
to crush it all the way through to Paris.
Oh, good stuff.
Mixed relay is always good to watch. A few lead changes there. So that was quite a good watch. Seems to be heaps better with the change in order, where they're going male, female, male, female.
Why?
This just seems to be more changes, and I don't know. I just seem to that when you have the females go first, it kind of splinters it quite quickly.
Okay.
So it kind of stays together. Unfortunately, our Kiwis, we were looking good for getting 2nd or 3rd place, and we just dropped to 4th place, which was a shame.
Yep.
There was also the cool thing over here was they had some age group relays as well. So, mixed team relay for age groupers who went over there and raced, and they did that in 10-year age groups. I had one female that I coach over there doing it. She said it was awesome fun, and I've never seen her run so fast before in my life.
Oh, really?
I looked at her run speed, I thought, holy crap balls, that was pretty quick.
When was the last time you've done a race like that? The distances.
Years ago, yeah. However, July 24th, Bevan, I'm doing a little super sprint triathlon in our club rooms in Waltham. We're going to do it on the indoor trainers, and I'll partake in that and see how fast I can go.
The one thing I suppose about the Eliminator series is it's good TV. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're doubting.
It just came down to that last race. As I said, I think...
Was the last race good TV?
The last race was good. Yeah, no, there was plenty happening in in the last race. So
I just think it's kind of like a 20-minute block.
Mm.
You think, you have your ads, you do the next race.
Like, in terms of, if you were going to do a highlights package, as you said, like a 20-minute block, you just do a quick, tiny summary of race 1 and race 2.
Yeah.
Race 3, there was enough dynamics and breaking up. It wasn't a procession.
And then you show the male and female race, and that's your hour.
Yeah. So in that regard, yes, it'd be good. But in terms of live coverage, it was good. I enjoyed it, but mass audience, possibly not so much.
Okay.
Anyhow,
here we go. This week's discussion. What was the most epic training that you can think of that you would actually like to attempt?
We had some good choices here. Most people have gone for epic long stuff rather than necessarily epic intensity, which is
fast.
Yeah.
Everyone says, let's go longer.
So David Joe said bike Badwater to Mount Whitley Trailhead in California, then run up and down. I've seen videos of guys doing it. Sounds like an epic 24 hours. So Badwater is where they do that.
The marathon, isn't it?
Yeah,
the crazy one.
The crazy one where you kind of run through the desert and... What is that called? I can't remember.
Badwater Marathon, isn't it? Badwater Ultra? Or?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
I'll have a look. Okay, I've got here, Arnold's got riding the 7 Majors, 367 Ks, 12,000 metres of climbing, 7 epic passes. I'm not going to name them all. Did it twice. It's the most epic 24 hours of my life. The hardest, the most stunning, the craziest. Italian passes have 20% gravel stretch, or gradient stretch maybe. The most magical... And he saw a firefly rain at 2 a.m. He loved it.
George Samuel, I'd love to see how far I could cycle, so simulate a 24-hour TT.
Just go for it.
Go for it.
Would you do it on the track?
If you wanted to go, see how distance-wise you would. That'd be boring as batshit.
It would be boring.
But yeah, riding point to point somewhere for something that's going to take...
How far do you reckon you could go? No, you realise trying to max out.
You'd have to. Well,
you'd have
realistically, you'd have to have a few stops. But God, you'd like to think you'd, including stops, probably average 20 k's an hour, maybe. So you'd be
20.
It kind of depends what sort of roads you're on. That's factoring in stops and stuff. Like on epic camps when we're riding, I'm normally averaging about 25 k's an hour, including stops.
Yeah.
So
you're probably saying about 27
so you might get 500 k's done, maybe.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
When you're doing your Everesting, you've got 2 challenges at the moment. You've got very contradictory.
Got a few more coming on the table as well after this.
24-hour time trial. Okay, we've got Alan Cardwell. Some serious stuff in here. Well, that's not very helpful. Alan Palmer's got whatever Lionel does.
Yeah. Brian Brian, surely that's not your name, Brian.
I made at school called Peter Peters.
Yeah.
So.
Either a point-to-point 24-hour cycling challenge. I did a civil twilight version of this last summer, which worked out to be 16 hours and 14 minutes to go as far as I can. He did 357 kilometres in 16 hours. Or a rim-to-rim-to-rim challenge of the Grand Canyon. That is a cool idea.
Christine McKinley, now I've cheated on her, John.
Yeah?
You know, we had a really good relationship, but I'm a cheat. Because I went to another dentist the other day.
Well, she's not in Christchurch
I know,
anymore.
but I still feel like I'm a cheat. You know,
she's left town.
She's no longer
sick
grinding.
of you.
She's no longer grinding me.
Yeah.
You know, I have to get someone else to grind me.
Nor me. I've got to do the same.
You've never grinded me. Okay, she's got, it's probably not super exciting to Kiwis, but the longest day coast to coast would be an epic day for me that I would love to do. If you don't know what it is, basically you go from the west coast to the east coast of the South Island in one day. It's seriously one of the, I do the MC work at it. Arguably one of the greatest sporting events in the world. It's absolutely fantastic.
So the winners are normally doing probably 11 hours or so.
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer.
So
I think last year was
they're miles ahead. You know, if I was to do it, I haven't added up the numbers, but if they're doing 11, I'm thinking I'd probably be 13 to 14.
Yeah. You bike 70k, or you run a k. Your bike's about 70. You kayak for about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Then you run basically an off-road marathon.
More or
it's
less.
a little bit less, but it's about that same time frame. Then you kayak for about 6 hours, and then you ride another maybe 50 into town.
Yeah.
Great race. She'd love to do it.
Michael Kennedy, I'm about to do 15 stages through the Dolomites, Swiss Alps, and the French Alps. I'll get back to you about which day was the most epic.
George Samuel, I'd love to see it on it.
Several 24-hour time trials. Nicky Sweetman said riding from Christchurch to Hokitika. That's probably about, I don't know, that'd be about 275.
Queenstown trip was cool.
Yeah, we did 2 days. It was about 220 Ks each of those days, something like that.
That was pretty cool. What's yours? I've got one. I have got one today.
Well, I've got a couple. And Chrissy McKinley, I replied to her one because I thought that was a gold idea. So this coast-to-coast event, it's got a lot of admin in it in terms of training for it. The kayak is it's divorce material. Because
it's way more expensive.
It's more expensive, and just the travel time and the training for it is difficult.
And you need you got to develop a whole new skill set.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking I'd really like to do the coast to coast, but I don't want to invest that much time into learning how to kayak and doing all the training and just having full days away here and there and everywhere. Yep. So I'm thinking I want to do the coast to coast. I need to find some people to take us through the kayak and double kayak. So doing the rest of it,
you can do tandem teams.
Well, I don't want to do the race. I just want to do it as a training day like this.
Oh, okay.
Is you find some people. I know some people who would take us through in double kayaks. We do the bike and the run. You know, I'd probably need a guide on the run as well. And then you go through the kayak. You don't need your certification or heaps of skills. You need to do a little bit of training for it. And then you'll be able to do the event without officially partaking in the event. So I thought that was a gold idea, Chrissy, and I am going to follow that up. It may take a couple of years, but I will. That is something I'd love to do. And the other ones that I thought of that I would like to do is a bit more of a speed challenge. Is seeing, what did I have down here? Back-to-back sprint distance triathlons to make up a half Ironman. And so just basically having a small gap between each one, so kind of Super League style, and doing multiple races back-to-back.
Sprint, how many do you have to do?
Well, you probably do... Wouldn't be exactly sprint distances, but you'd maybe do 5 or 4.
Ooh, that's a tough day. Well, but you'd probably just cruise it, wouldn't you?
No, the idea would be you have a prize at the end for
who goes fastest. It's a race type thing.
It's a race type thing. So I thought that would be a cool, rather than just going long.
That's an
crazy.
injury waiting to happen.
Oh no, you'd be right.
Here we are, Mr. Hypocrite. Oh, I don't want to push it too hard.
And then the one other one that I did do on my 40th birthday that I don't think I'll ever be able to top was running 10k, and I did that in 36:50, and then biked 30k's, ran for 2 hours, did 100 100s, and biked 90k's, and that was on day 10 of an epic camp. I don't think I'll ever top that day. That was pretty full on.
How were you at the end of that day?
I was a bit emotional, to be honest.
Really?
I was like, I think I was so tired, and it was a full 12-hour challenge.
Yeah. And it was your 40th, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on my 40th.
So it was kind of a significant moment.
I was pretty ruined at the end.
I've got one. To go from here to the top of the mountain.
Up to like where our ski field is.
Yeah, so what mountain would you choose? If you so I live on the hill in Christchurch. How far would it be to the bottom of the hill? Mountains. So basically, we're in my lounge right now. We've got a beautiful view. Today, admittedly, we can't see because the clouds. But you got the kind of the flat Christchurch, and then you got the Southern Alps often a distance. And so from here, looking to the bottom of the Alps,
70, 80 Ks.
so that, and then up one of the mountains?
Would have run up like the access road of a ski field up Mount Hutt. I'm guessing it's probably 10-ish K, something like that. But then to get to the top that'd be where it'd be a bit more scrambling. So yeah, that certainly would not be a day challenge. That would be a half-day challenge, but it'd be good to get to the top.
Well, I'd love it. Just to be able to go when I look out this room to think I went from here to there. I often think, I should do that. I just need to figure out the logistics of it.
It'd be pretty easy to go up Mount Hutt. It'd be a summer
But
challenge.
Mount Hutt's way down there, isn't it? I want to go one that's kind of like when I look at that mountain, I go,
oh yeah,
that's the one I've conquered.
They're even easier.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So I might do that.
Mount Oxford.
Is that way? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe I'll do it. It's just because I sit in this lounge and you see these beautiful views, and it's like,
lock it in, Eddie. We'll do it.
Okay, we'll lock it in. We'll do it next week. I need to get on the bike. Okay, guys, this week's discussion. So this week's discussion is, where is it? Hot topic. Oh no, that was yours.
What is the stupidest thing you've done in a race you vowed never to do again? And the genesis for this is, firstly, I wore my swim skin in a race in 70.3.
You've made a few mistakes.
I did it again this year, which is just beyond rookie. Like, it's 101. Just stupidity. But good old, the Albinator, Albert Boyce, sent me an email yesterday in light of that, because he knew that was a pretty foolish thing to do. But he said a mate of his at the weekend did a race, and he had his N45, whatever, those masks on before the race, and he just put it around his neck before the race.
For the whole time.
And then he did the whole race. I'm not sure if it was in what distance it was. And nobody told him you still got your mask around your neck. And he did the whole thing around his neck like a parachute. And he felt like a right plonker. But he also thought, why didn't anybody tell me I had this around here? Maybe they were thinking you want your mask available for when you finish.
One classic one that I did was
when I'll save that for next week.
I know, but I'm going to tell it. When we did Kona not putting sunblock in the lower bit of your back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my it was like, it wasn't even red. It was like burnt.
People don't do that now because they all got tri-suits. So
then it's the two-piece isn't popular.
Yeah, and even you got sleeves. There's so little of your body to get roasted.
Yeah.
Good old Ollie Jenner, Mr. Sausage, still managed to get himself roasted every year.
And he's got pretty pale skin, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's a guy who does not want to get roasted. Okay, John's quiz question.
How many Ironmans did Chris McCormick, a.k.a. Macca, win?
Oh, so not just Ironman World Championships.
Yeah,
Ironman races.
Because we see him now these days, and he's a great commentator guy on Super League and quite influential in the sport. And that's kind of how you see him now. I don't necessarily see him as the athlete. In his day, mate, he was a bloody megastar. So how many Ironmans did he actually win?
He was really important for their sport at that time too, because we were in that phase where it was a bit boring. We had some really good champions, but they just were a bit blasé. And Macca always mixes things up. Okay, that's a good question. We'll come back to it later on. Okay, Coach's Corner. You want to go for a walk, mate? We can walk up the mountain.
I went for I was doing my long run last week, and I did this route that it's my new favourite long run. I have to take you on at some stage. And the week before,
where is it?
You go up kind of through Barnvale and stuff, and
Yep.
it sort of traverses across. And it's really nice. It's not too steep. And the week before it was fine, and then the last week it was quite muddy, and there was one stretch I was walking going, bugger this, I'm walking. Then I was thinking, actually, I've been prescribing a bit of walking in some of my programs lately to quite a few athletes, thinking, this might be a reasonable short topic to have on the show. So is it okay to walk when you're training? You guys have heard me talk at length about walking and racing and how to do that strategically, but what about training? So Ironman running is much more, hopefully you guys know this, about strength and endurance rather than speed. So whilst I'm going off and trying to run a fast 5K at the moment, your 5K speed is not directly applicable to what you can do in an Ironman. It is more about the strength and endurance. So, to try to get that strength and endurance, you got to build load, and you can do that through endurance, through increasing your running frequency, doing intensity, or doing some strength work. So, Bevan, what's the key with running? Whenever you're doing running, trying to increase your running.
What do you mean when you're trying to increase?
What's the one thing you've got to try to avoid?
Injuries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So staying healthy is the absolute key thing. So this advice here is, generic, because run load is massively individualized, because some people can do lots of endurance, some people can handle intensity.
I just think you've got to be really wise in how you do. Like, it's interesting. I've got back to running in the last, I had my operation, 18 months ago now, and 6 months back to impact. and then didn't really focus on running. I did 6 months of gym work, and then the last 6 months I've been running, and it's only really been the last month that I've really started to add any real intensity. Like the loading, especially as you age, you just got to be really wise in how you calculate your loading stages, and not just loading, but also intensity loading.
Yeah.
And I'm back to it. I'm still far back away from what I was before my operation, but I'm definitely back to good running now.
So you got to think about where walking comes into it, and whether you want to do it, because the main thing is, as in racing, you've got to have purpose to your walking. Like lots of people think about walking in different ways. People like faster athletes have a fear of walking, either because they think they're being weak, or they think they won't be able to get they'll lose their rhythm. Others to just do it when they're tired, and that it basically means you're just being a bit lazy. So you've got to have some structure and clear direction around why you might walk in training. This is we're talking training here, not necessarily racing.
Yeah.
So long runs is going to be the main time when you might bring some walking into play. The objective with your long run is you're trying to build endurance and durability that's going to help you later on in a run. So by not walking, you're going to build more load, which is a good thing. If you go for a 2.5 hour long run and you don't walk, then you're going to have a higher load than if you're doing a 2.5 hour run with walking, which is obviously pretty obvious. By not walking, you're going to slightly increase the risk of injury, and you're going to prolong your recovery, so it'll take longer to get over those sessions. Mentally, it's a little bit tougher to not walk all the way through, and that's a good thing in training. You want to make your training tougher so you do become mentally stronger. When it comes to racing, you're not necessarily looking for the hardest way to do things. So again, we're talking more about training, but in racing, walking can also help you mentally to sort of break things down. So by inserting some walking breaks into your long runs, it gives you a micro recovery, both on a muscular level, and also it dips your heart rate slightly each time through. So what that means, it's going to be a slightly lower load, and that's a good and a bad thing, because we want to get as much load as we can, but we don't want to go over that point where you get injured. Yeah. And by walking, it does significantly reduce the injury risk. It does also, a really good benefit, it allows you to potentially increase the length of your long runs. So if you kind of got a history, you might crack a bit when you start getting above, say, 2 hours. If you start to insert some walking breaks into your long runs, that might mean you might get out to 2.5 to 3 hours. So it's sort of just balancing that load a little bit. So you want to have a plan if you're going out and doing your running as a run walk. If you're probably got less of a running background, you might want to settle on sort of 9 minutes run, 1 minute walk. And the way that I'm kind of doing it at the moment is I'll just have a bit of a break every sort of 15 to 20 minutes or so, maybe walk for a minute around about that time, just so I can.
So you're not thinking long walking, are you? It's just breaks.
A minute to 2 minutes. And the other thing, sometimes it's not always about having a walk. It might be having a little break at a water station. Yep. Just breaking it up so it's not that load all the way through. But I will stress, is the downside of walking, it is going to reduce the load on your legs, and it is. You don't want to treat it as an easy out. You go, I'm walking, and
it's
there's
like
a
strategy.
reason. There's a reason for it. I want to walk because that's going to reduce my injury risk that I know I've had some issues with in the past, or I want to come out the other side a little bit fresher. So if you constantly get smoked from doing your long runs, and it means it's going to take 4 days to recover, you go, I really want to do 2 hours, but I want to lessen the load slightly, so then 2 days later I can do that interval session. So I'm not saying at all everybody should include walking in here, but it might be, at times in your build-up, it might be a sensible thing to do in the whole, sort of looking at your whole week structure and sort of building up your volume. If you're in, say, like a Bevan's case, or you're pretty new to the sport, then I'd say walking is really, really important, but you just want to add some structure to it.
One thing as well, I think, kind of not to do with walking, but kind of what's really important, especially if you're someone who's kind of newer to the sport, is understanding what happens to your body when fatigue hits. So like one strategy, as John's saying, if you're starting to feel for a bit of fatigue, is to add that walking in, which fingers crossed means you can manage longer loading, but also understanding the body position, because I often talk about, if you go to let's say you go watch the Christchurch Half Marathon, the first 10% of the field get to the finish line, they look just like they've started the race. They might look tired, but their movement patterns are brilliant. Then the further you go down the field, the more ugly the technique goes. And basically what that is, it's just showing unconditioned people getting to the finish line. And a lot of people don't understand the things that happen to their body when they're getting fatigued, and that's where getting a coach or getting some assessments done. And that's why I like running groups and stuff like that, because you can get on a treadmill and get a running assessment, but you're often in really good form when you do that. So you're not really getting real world feedback. Whereas if you go to a running group or a running, you go to a run, be in a running group, or you need a running group, but where coaches are own part of the experience. They're going to see you in your moments of fatigue, and they're going to be, like I know of our runners, we're seeing people when they're 20K into a run, and okay, you drop them your hips, whatever it is. And then knowing that awareness of when I get tired, this is what happens to my body, here's what I need to focus on. And it's important for a couple of reasons. A, when you're training, if you know that's the case, then you can try to consciously hold that position so your body learns to condition to that level. But B, when you're racing, you know how to actually, what you need to focus on at that time. And it's just a really important thing to think of. And obviously walking, maybe while you're having a walking block, go, okay, I'm now going into the next 9 minutes. I'm going to focus on hip position or cadence or whatever it is for you.
So yeah, look, it's walking. I'm not saying everybody should have walk. You should have a strategic plan around it. And sometimes it might be another way of, no, actually, that's another topic for another day. Just to carry on Bevan's point, if you've got somebody watching you at a race, and if it's a multi-lap event, it's great to get them to video you as you go through, and then you can have a clip. You want to get a side-on view, and you'll be able to see the difference in your body position.
Even a front-on, because like the arm swing, that rotation that happens a lot. But yeah, like it's really interesting. So many people don't think about running technique. And again, a lot of the feedback, you can get those online assessments done and all those types of things, and there's value in them. But what happens when you're fatigued?
Oh, totally.
And it's a completely different thing. And so to learn that as well. Anything else, Jumbo?
That's about it. Okay. So we're going to have an interview coming up now with Ryan Smith. I was just looking for his nickname, Ruthless Ryan Smith.
Ruthless.
Yeah.
That's a good one, that is. Okay, here is Ruthless Ryan.
Right, guys, as you heard earlier in the show, we're going to talk to Ruthless Ryan Smith about finishing the Western States 100 at the weekend. I'm not engrossed in the world of ultra running, so I don't really know too much history about the different events. So I think when ultra running sort of comes up, I think, the Mont Blanc ultra marathon, think about the Comrades in South Africa, think about Leadville, and then the Western States 100 is one that I've certainly heard about, but the history around it is quite cool. There's only 369 places each year, or start spots, and they get around 6,000 applications, so it's all done via a lottery. It's a 100-mile running race in California, and it follows the middle portion of the Western States Trail, which is a trail that's dedicated from Salt Lake City through to Sacramento. It's on trails all the way, very, very hilly, very remote. It's got a 42-hour cutoff, and it's got a really cool history. In 1972, 20 US Army infantrymen attempted to hike the trail non-stop in one day, ahead of a horse racing event. So there's a 24-hour horse racing event going over this trail. In 1974, a guy called Gordy Ainsley joined the horses in the event to see if he could do it in 24 hours. He did it in 23 hours and 42 minutes, proving that a runner could do it in the 24-hour cutoff. And then in 1977, 14 men from 4 states participated in the first ever Western States endurance run. And Ryan Smith completed it at the weekend. So Ryan, welcome along to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
What was your motivation? I've read a bit of the history there, but you're a triathlete, but also an ultra runner. What was your motivation to go and do this particular event?
Well, part of it is it's in my backyard. I grew up in Auburn, where the race finishes. So growing up in that town and watching that race as a kid, it's just kind of been on the bucket list to do, because it's been in my backyard for so long. But getting into the race has been a challenge. Obviously, it's a lottery system. So that's kind of the main motivation of why I wanted to do it.
It's quite an interesting lottery system, because you get a ticket first year, and then you keep getting tickets, and it sort of builds up. So eventually you'll get in. But you're a triathlete as well. So, and you can lay down some pretty decent times when you're, in the run portion of the races in your age group. So tell us a little bit about your running background and your triathlon background, so people can get a picture of what sort of an athlete you are, going into this particular event.
Yes, I grew up playing soccer. I guess football for you guys, but that was kind of my main sport as a kid, and just really into soccer. And then wanted to do more endurance sport after, college. I went to school and got out and wanted to just stay active. So I had one of my old college buddies kind of get me into doing triathlons. So just for fun, just like a lot of people do, I started doing sprint triathlons just to stay healthy and active. Did that for a few years, and then had a family, kids, wife came, and the time dedication got limited. And it's always easy to put a pair of running shoes on. They're always in your car. You can stop on your way home from work, get in 30 minutes. It's really easy and simple. So then I kind of switched out of triathlon and started doing ultra running. And I was doing that for about 10 years, just while my kids were little and the family and time dedication. And then just recently got back into triathlon these last couple of years, just because my kids have gotten a little older. But I like the variety, mixing it up between the ultra marathons and Ironman triathlon just keeps it fresh. It's a nice combination. So
what's the main difference? They're both obviously very long events, and obviously triathlon, your body's differences, you're kind of mixing things up a little bit more, but what are the key differences between the two sports?
I think, with ultra marathons, it's you're always, well, I guess just like in an Ironman, but you're problem solving constantly because you're out there for so long. You can only do so much to get fit, as far as your aerobic system, but there's something that's going to happen to you out there on a 100-mile, or 100K run, that whether you're dealing with your feet, your blisters, or you're dealing with nausea and you can't get calories down. So I think the biggest difference is you're constantly problem solving on those long ultras, where, not to say in an Ironman you don't do a little bit of that, but it just takes it to another level. When you're out there for 24 plus hours. So
that's a big difference as well. It's more or less, roughly double the time for a lot of people. So Ryan, you're out there 24 hours, and you at least half of that, or less than half of that for an Ironman. So I think that would be just a lot more time out there. So give us a bit of an overview of the Western States 100 in terms of the course, and if someone's going, might think about that, give people a bit of reality check on what this course is like, both in terrain and what you expect.
Yeah, so it's a net downhill course, but it's far from being downhill. There's, I think, 21,000 feet of climbing and 19,000 feet of descending. You start at 8,300 feet up at Olympic Valley, Squaw Valley, in the Sierra Nevadas. And you're kind of up in the high country for about 20 miles. Some years there's snow. You might have to, traverse through some snow, and then you drop down through the middle section of the course. They call it the canyons, and it's 4 pretty steep climbs and descents that you go through in the middle of the course. And then you come into Forest Hill, which is the only spot on the race that's actually a road. There's about 2 miles of road. And then you can pick up pacers at that point. And then you go from Forest Hill, you drop down to the American River, which is a pretty famous river here in California, and you get to cross the river. And that's at mile 78. And then
when you say cross the river, have you got to ford through it, or is there a bridge you go across?
So you have to ford through it. So so yesterday when I did it, it was about, I'd say, chest high.
Yeah.
And it's probably, I don't know, maybe 100 feet across.
Yeah.
And you hook up to a rope, and they have volunteers there. And then some years when there's a lot of snow melt off, they'll put you in a raft, and they'll just shuttle you across on a raft. But yeah, getting your feet wet at mile 78 and trying to keep running, and you got blisters and you start cramping. But anyway, so that's so then you get to the other side of the river, and then you have mile 78 home is another 22 miles, kind of mellow trails. And then you end in the town of Auburn. And most years it's usually pretty, about 100 degrees. I think yesterday it topped out at 102. Yeah. So dealing with the heat is it's another issue you got to work through. But they said there's, I think, 1,600 volunteers.
Wow.
I mean, it's incredible. And 83 pounds of ice per runner. I mean, they shuttle in ice, like unbelievable amount. So
is it quite a solo experience? Like, like, because there's only 300 something people racing. Are you kind of by yourself most of the time, or how does that work out?
Yeah, usually in the beginning, you're with a group. We call them Congo lines, where you might get a pack of 5 or 6 runners that you're kind of the same skill level, and you kind of might work together for a bit. But I'd say 70% of the race, I'm solo. I'm by myself. I don't see anybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you manage the support, in terms of your nutrition, your hydration and stuff, because I know it's really remote out there. So what are your sort of opportunities to get fuel on?
Yeah. So there's aid stations anywhere from 5 to 8 miles apart. And then I wear a vest with I have like 1.5 liters of water on my back, and then 1 liter. I was using the Morton liquid calories, and then I have the Morton gels. But then along the course at each aid station, they've got, I mean, it's a smorgasbord of food that you can eat from. So they do a really good job of taking care of you, making sure. And then there's specific locations you can pick up a crew. You can have, I think there's 6 locations for drop bags. So you can sporadically put your drop bags out if you have special, nutrition.
So it's
yeah,
not dissimilar to an Ironman in terms of you're not ever too far away from getting some support.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, if you're moving real slow, I mean, you're maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours max away from any kind of support. So
yeah. What was worrying you most going into the event in terms of getting from start to finish?
Well, it's an ultra. There's so many things can go wrong. I think the one thing for me I've struggled with is my nutrition, and then putting that in with the heat. 100-degree weather with nutrition. It's just I was concerned about how to keep the calories down, and because you can't run unless you have calories. You got to keep calories going. So that was one of my biggest concerns.
And how did the overall race sort of pan out for you?
Yeah. Pretty good. I think through about mile, I'd say 70 for me, the nutrition was going down pretty good. And then it kind of went south on me. And I can usually tell because you go to the aid station and nothing looks good. I mean, it just looks like, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll start on the Coke or, ginger ale, Coke, that simple sugar. And so I think it did pretty good. I wish I could have gone a little further on solid food, but it happens. So,
yeah. And what advice would you give to people that, you've probably got a fair idea of what triathletes' mindset are and what triathletes are like. You've done ultra running, so to a degree, you kind of knew what you were getting yourself in for. But, for triathletes that are thinking, I kind of want to try something a little bit different and maybe try some ultras. Have you got any sort of generic advice or reality checks you'd give for people?
Start small. I mean, start with the 50K. Then maybe a 50 miler. I wouldn't jump right into a 100-mile race. And that'll give you a good taste of the distance. And then, also the terrain, if you want to get on a mountain 50K, I just start small and also there's a lot of running community groups, the ultra scene, it's very much community centric. A lot of people get together. There's a lot of clubs, events, and things you can do. So I think hooking up with a local club is very helpful because they can show you trails and different areas that are exciting to run. So
just body management, because I imagine the cost on the body is worse than an Ironman and quite a big deficit. So post race, how do you look after your body?
Post race, yeah.
He's working on that.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I just was on a plane for 2 hours and I think all the blood pooled to my feet. It was not comfortable, but I mean that just the stretching and it's trying to stay a little bit active, trying to just, even if you can walk a little bit, is always helpful. Hopping on a bike for just spinning the legs out a little bit. kind of helps flush things out. But, for me, it's like a lot of the stuff is like the blisters, and that just has to come with time, to heal up. So
how long will it be before you're running again?
Saturday.
The ultra runners usually say for every 10 miles of a race, you take a day off. Okay. So a typical 100 miler, you would take 10 days off.
Okay.
For me, I physically probably can't run because my feet are so bad, but
okay.
On an average race, I'd take 5 or 6 days off. So
yeah, nice.
I think I've got a picture of your toes. We'll see if we can put that on our
I think
page.
I think we'll fake that.
Toes don't look like they're going to survive. That was awesome. I think so. You finished in about 24 hours, and I think you're about 105th or 109th or something like that. What's the dropout rate with the event? I mean, they've got 369 entries. How many usually end up finishing roughly?
Roughly, I think the statistic is around 60%. Yeah. So quite a few people drop, on this race. So it depends on every year, if it's cooler weather, you get a little bit higher rate, but this year was a hot one. So
on satisfaction levels, obviously you've done a lot of endurance events and achieved some pretty big things. Where does this sit on that?
As far as like success or
just feeling, satisfaction, like success or,
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely would want to come back to this race, to experience it the first time and really see what it's like, and then to go back again and really nail it. So I think that's something I definitely want to do.
Nice work. Oh, you got a bit of holiday time to chill out and relax now. So
keep your feet up.
Keep those feet up. Go and jump in the lake. No, thanks for sharing that with us. It's cool to find out what these ultra events are like. So Ryan Smith, Ruthless Ryan Smith, thanks for your time.
Legend.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, and I'll send you pictures if you want. So
brilliant.
Come on. Awesome, mate. Thank you.
All right.
Cool.
We did that interview before we've done this bit, but I'm sure Ryan was ruthless in the race.
You've got to be ruthless if you're going to be bloody running for 24 hours.
Bloody hurts. Okay, product review. We're going to look at Form goggles. What are they? What are they about? And what's the benefit, Jumbo? So let's talk about them. What are they?
So Form goggles, the easiest way to conceptualize them is they're basically a goggle that's almost got like your bike computer or your running watch in one of the eyes.
You can feedback while you're swimming.
Yeah. So you basically, every time you turn at each length of the pool, it's going to give you a split for that length. So it's basically like your bike computer and your running computer in one of your lenses of your eyes.
Mind away, John. I'm at the website right now. They look absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So you want to view these as a tool, not a goggle. We're going to be calling them Form goggles all the way through, but it's just another tool you can add to your arsenal to make sure your training's a lot more structured. The other thing is it gives you access to a really big library of workouts. So when you go, I did a workout last weekend, and over the next little period, I'm going to talk through all the different features of the goggles. But went into the swim. You click a couple of buttons, click on the workout you want to do, and boom, it's going to basically walk you through a workout, a bit like if you're doing a structured workout on a bike. It'll say, right, 2x100s steady. And that actually, they don't use the word steady, but in terms of the intensity.
Yep.
And then you'll go through that. It'll count your laps for you. It'll tell you last lap. It'll give you your rest interval, and then it'll say, right, next up is 4x50s.
They're a bit of a game changer, aren't they?
I think for the non-swimmer, who, and especially if you're not coached and don't have a program, absolutely. You've got all the workouts there. We're going to go into that in the coming weeks. So how do they actually work? You've got in one of your goggle lenses, you've got 2 or 3 data fields, and you can fully customize them, and they can give you all the data you need on the go. So, for example, pace, distance, interval distance, stroke rate, it's all really customizable through their app. So, for example, when I was swimming this morning, I have one of the main fields I have whilst I'm swimming is the time for that particular interval, and then down the bottom I have the distance that I've done for that interval, so it's counting my lengths for me and my time, and then every time I turn it'll give me my split for that length, and so then I can keep track of my pacing.
Yep.
Again, I'll go into that stuff later. So as I said, you can choose a form workout, and that's going to take you through step by step through your own through your workout, and it'll tell you what exactly you're supposed to be doing, how hard you're supposed to be going. It'll help you count your lengths and it'll help you analyze your sessions. They've got a great app for afterwards. You can just look through. It'll give you a split for every 100 or every interval you've done. It'll give you a split for that. Wow. So you can go back and go, okay, I did 2100s today. I started off at 1 minute 45s, and then I was dropped down to like 1 minute 55. So it'll give you all your splits all the way through in a really easy to digest way. The goggle itself is kind of, in terms of the makeup of it, it's kind of fairly traditional sort of goggle.
Does it feel heavy?
No, not really. I mean, it's a fraction.
Because it's got
heavier.
the little computer thing on the side. Yeah.
So on this, and you can. I have it on my right hand side.
Oh, so you can alternate or choose
sides.
Yeah,
you can switch around. Then you've just got to change the programming of through the app. So on one side, you've got a little computer on the side.
And your
goggle.
sight, like obviously you got the computer kind of feedback. Does it give you the same kind of vision of your swim?
It's a little bit limited in terms of the vision, and it takes quite a while to get used to not looking at the stats the whole time.
Oh, okay. Because it kind of gets a bit consuming.
Yeah. And the way I think of it is when you're out running, if you're doing intervals, you're not looking at your watch the whole time. You know, if you're doing a K or a mile split, you might look at it, 3 or 4 times.
Or if you need to motivate yourself, you're going to look at it just to pull yourself in. Yep.
And so that's one of the things that I'll go into later on as well, is learning not to stare at the stats the whole way through. So they're not a super low profile goggle. They're not massive, but they're not a super low profile goggle. And yeah, it takes a little while to get used to the data being in your eye. One side benefit that I find, I move my head around too much when I'm swimming.
Okay.
And I've noticed with this, it forces me to keep my head a little bit
because you can see the screen moving.
I can see myself moving.
Wow.
So the key benefits are, makes your swimming heaps more structured and targeted, especially if you don't really have a program that you follow regularly.
I think it would also be really, like you haven't got this written down here, but really motivating.
Absolutely.
You know, like for someone like me, whose swimming was always a grind, and admittedly squads helped, but if I went to the pool by myself, it was always a half-assed swim. You know, even if I had sets, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you could, you know, like I know if you're on the bike at the gym and you've got those numbers in front of you, you've got targets you're trying to hit, I definitely go to the next level. You know, massive motivator.
It measures your performance as you swim and afterwards. Helps massively with pace control, especially when you're trying to hold a pace. Massively, I would think it would reduce the boredom factor for people. For me, it's a bit different. For swimmers, you're just intrinsically trained to be watching the clock the whole time. And so I
never was.
Yeah.
You know, I never was. I was kind of like, you know, coming from not being a swimmer, you know, because you'd always be like, look at the clock.
You just, it's clock is everything when you're a swimmer, because you're doing sets and you're going, boom, I'm doing 10 100s and I've got to hold this time, and you're checking and it helps you counting. It helps keep it interesting. So I think for non-swimmers, I know that they struggle with this, so I know this will massively reduce the boredom. And with the workouts through form, it takes away the guesswork. You know, there's purpose around your sessions. You know, they've been tailored by, some good coaches. And so if you're not coached, then boom, you've got yourself swim workouts, and you can go, okay, Monday I want to do more of an endurance session, Wednesday I want to do a speed session, Thursday I want to do a strength session or something like that. So you can check it out at formswim.com. In terms of the cost, they're working on a membership model, so you can start from $19 a month, and that'll give you access to, gets you a pair of goggles, and then gives you access to all of their workout library. Got a promo code, IMTalk15. That'll give you $15 off. So not IMTalk, what did I say? It's IM15. IM15.
Yep.
Give you $15 off. Helps you in terms of getting $15 off. Also helps us because they know that you've come via us. So what I'm going to do over the next little period is just go through some of the ways you can use the goggles, how you can set your paces and so on. So really, really good. I've done a review on them, I don't know, several years ago when I first got them, and I know that a number of athletes that I coached that have got them love them, especially those that swim by themselves. I think that's the...
I reckon big time. You know, going back to me again, if I was a squad, I was motivated because people pulled me along, but by myself, there was the difference between me being in a squad and me by myself was probably a 40% difference, you know, in quality of training. You know, and something like this, I don't know if I would have got the same as a squad, but I definitely would have been a much smaller gap.
I was wearing them this morning, and I was just bang on every single interval that I wanted to do. I was bang on the time, and I swam with one other guy, Tom, and I was like, and first set we did, I was like, he's going a little bit too slow here, sort of swam up behind him a bit.
Kept its toes
and
a bit.
now I could have been watching the clock every 100 or something like that. If you're looking at your watch when you're doing stuff, I'd never do that. You cock up your turns. So every time you turn, you're getting your split, and it really keeps you on track. So check it out, formswim.com. Use the promo code IM15.
Okay, we're going to go to Wanger of the Week. And today we're looking at Logan Julian.
Yeah.
Or is it Julian Logan?
Well, it says Logan Julian, so I'm going with that. He had 16 hours and 50 minutes of activity last week, 1 hour 28 swimming, 8 hours 38 on the bike, and 6 hours 42 on the run. Looked like a pretty big week for him. It looks like he lives in he does live in Salt Lake City in
I think
Utah.
he's training for something big because he stepped up. Like if you look at his history from July 21 through to May this year, kind of, pretty consistent. But in the last 6-7 weeks, whoa, next level.
He has gone next level. So, it's summertime over there. The weather in Salt Lake City in winter's probably pretty harsh. So good on him. Last week, he looked like he did a big tour on the bike around Salt Lake City. And he did a bit of trail running. Looks like he did a bit of everything, really. So
Tell you what a place to train. Look at his photos.
Oh, Salt Lake. Utah looks amazing. Like that St. George race looked awesome.
And I was watching just paradise.
What is the name of that doco that you suggested that I watched?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something about the Tears or something like that. It's on Netflix if you haven't seen about the Mormons.
Culty family.
Yeah, it was pretty horrific.
Well, these were extreme Mormons. They weren't everyday Mormons.
And having 63 wives.
Yeah.
But that was in Utah as well, and just the scenery around there is just beautiful.
It really is.
Beautiful. I don't know if I want to live there, but just the change between the cities and the desert's awesome.
So they get the extreme weather as well, don't they?
Yeah. Logan, look at old Logan Julian, his biggest climb. Holy shitballs! Where's 3,053 meters? How do you get that climb? That's almost.
It's Utah for you.
Yeah.
It's got holy shitballs. The climb. Have you not heard of that? Holy shitballs.
He did a night ride. I got to look at this. Where was he? I think this is. I was about to say this is in Kona, isn't it? No, it's not in Kona, but it looks like it's in an island somewhere in Hawaii. What he said, night ride. He did it. It was in Maui. Never seen wind to a headwind, no matter what the direction. Okay, so he did that in Maui.
Jeez.
114 kilometers, moving time 6 hours 24 minutes. Elevation 3,000 meters. So he went from sea level up to that level.
That's pretty cool.
Holy crap!
How long did it take him?
The whole ride was 6 hours 24 minutes.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
Doesn't look especially steep, but
just got
that's a long time to be climbing.
On and on, on and on. Okay, Jumbo, let's go into.
So
what's his name?
3 hours and 16 minutes to get halfway up the climb. I'm just on Strava. There you go. So it's called Haleakala, world's longest paved climb. It's 55 kilometers long, 2,957 meters of elevation at 5.3%. Took him 5 hours and 41 minutes. Doesn't have power. Average heart rate 150. Everybody's heart rate's different, but that's still working at a reasonable effort. The fastest time is 2 hours and 24 minutes. The second place is Michael Woods. He's a pro cyclist. The guy that did it, 2 hours and 24 minutes. What did he do? Oh, that's going to take too much effort for me to find that.
Okay.
Bloody hell. That's a big climb.
Logan Julian.
You are our Wanger of the week. And you've introduced me to a climb I didn't know about.
Now he wants to do it. Okay. Questions and answers. So Robert Beeline sent through an email last week saying...
Boom Beeline.
Boom Beeline said... There's a really awesome post on one of the German triathlon groups on Facebook, and he had to be a part of the group, so I couldn't get to it. So I said, "Can you send it back to me?" And basically, it was from who was it from? It was from
the founder, the guy who started Ironman Frankfurt, a guy called Kurt Denk.
And
the reason they started it was because Ironman weren't happy with Rote, and Rote were going to renew their license. So they found Kurt Denk in Kona, and he was going to start Ironman Frankfurt.
So it's some interesting beginnings with Frankfurt from someone who had no experience, but he went big. So downtown race, despite lots of opposition, they treated athletes like king. The Prime Minister started the first event. Memorable moment, I had the gun I needed for my jacket pocket, and when I pulled it out, 3 bodyguards suddenly got frantic. Suddenly there were 6 hands on my shoulders because they thought I might be an undercover assassin.
Yeah.
It would be pretty extreme.
So how big a risk was setting up Ironman Frankfurt for him? The first year he lost about €1 million. He had to remortgage his house.
Yeah, geez.
In the end, he was generating more than €2 million in sponsorship income every year. Today, he reckons it's a maximum of 800,000.
So they're making less.
Yeah, because he reckons there's just less interest from sponsors. But without the money, there's no innovations. And yeah, look, he basically pumped a lot of his money into getting pro athletes there.
Yeah.
He saw as being really important.
He said here, like, top stars, Frodeno, Langer, Kienle, Haag, all started a week later. He's just saying, okay, Ironman only survives because they increase entry fees and keep inventing new races. In the long run, however, this does not result in a healthy basis. I always had to use the money from the city, which is €150, and at least
150,000 euros.
Yeah, sorry, not 150. In the first 5 years, €200,000 after that to support athletes to oblige. At least 2 of the top 3 in Hawaii for the men and women would start with me in Kona. In Frankfurt. I paid people like Stadler between €57,000 to sign up. It's no longer done today. I also bought like Cam Brown, Peter Reed, Chris McCormick because I paid them good money. So he's basically saying he paid a lot to get athletes there.
The big pros.
And they're not doing it now, and it's kind of hurting the race.
And he sort of said that he reckons now these days about $250,000 he could have got Frodeno, Langer, Kienle, Haug, people like that. And yeah, he's just saying, I don't think Hawaii, the Ironman are doing themselves any favours here in terms of they're just trying to, he keeps saying in here, reap before they sow. And he's just saying, this event's been around for a while. You've got to keep investing. At the moment, they're kind of, they've gone past the peak in the sport, and they're just trying to pillage as much money out of these events rather than investing in the stars. And we've got to remember the cultural differences here. So for a lot of places, like a lot of races, if you don't have the pros, the event's still going to do really well.
Like in New Zealand, you need like a Cam Brown, or you need the local Kiwi to do well.
But in Germany, kind of what he's saying is you need the big pros, A, to get the sponsors, B, to get the media attention, and just to get that hype around it. And that's going to vary a bit from country to country. But in somewhere like Germany, this is an assumption, where the sport's got a reasonably good following, from general public, but it's got a massive number of people that actually are doing the sport. Those stars, he's implying, are really, really important, and he just thinks Ironman's just kind of trying to pillage things, and he's just going, that's why they're all going to Rote, where Rote has this massive community feel. Oh, did I tell people that if they want to come to Rote next year?
But you can tell them again.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's the difference between Rote and Germany is however they do it in Rote, they've got such good community engagement.
Yeah. This was really interesting.
That seems to be the difference.
He said back in the day, they used to get like 1 million people on the course. No, around 1 million, 250,000. Blah, 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 blah. Where was he saying?
He's basically saying there's a lot less people on the course these days than what there used to be.
People feel that in my time, when the weather was good, was up to 500,000 people lined the route. When I drove the lead vehicle in the last race before Corona in 2019, I was shocked at how little was going on. If the Ironman no longer has this unique selling point in Kona, they would have lost the competition with the competition long ago. Rote is now doing everything else better, and I have to admit that without envy. So, and let's be honest, it'll be really interesting to see in Germany, because, we've always talked about Germans loving triathlon, and, it was always often the same weekend or week about. It'll be interesting to see how much, like this, let's be honest, that field last weekend was pretty poor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nothing against the people who won it, but in comparison to the race that this guy put on in the past, it'd be interesting to see what the love of that race is happening from the German public. And is this Rote this weekend still a huge thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting times.
It is.
Interesting insight too, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Just popping our interviewee a quick email here, Bevan, because he's got home. He's come home from the Western States.
Perfect. Tell him we'll be there in 5 minutes. 15.
I'm going to say 10 minutes.
Okay.
Plus. There you go.
He can wait. He can wait.
Right.
Okay, let's go into the quiz question. Okay, so how many have you looked?
I have not. I've got the link, so we should be able to do this pretty quickly. How many Ironmans did Chris McCormack win?
So he won Kona twice.
Mm.
He won Australia 3 times.
I'd go along with that.
Yep.
It's about 3.
He won Rote twice.
I'd say so. That's 7.
He must have won some
I
others.
think he would have won Germany. That's 8.
Do you think he won?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think he won Germany.
Okay. I'm going to go 10.
Yeah, I think you're probably about right. I'm going to say 11. No, I'm going to say 9.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Just because I don't want to be the same as you. My new flatmate. Okay, so what have we got here? So we got coming up. We're going to pull up the PTO right now.
There
Great
you go.
website.
And 205 Australia and Rote. 206 Rote and Australia. 207 Hawaii and Rote.
Oh, he won
We're up to 7.
Cairns.
208 Ironman Germany. I was right.
Oh, he
That's
did.
7.
Hawaii.
In 2010. That's 8.
I think I've got it.
9 is Ironman Cairns.
Yes. I got it.
Ironman World Long Distance Champs
No, there was
is 10.
There was the ITU World Long Distance.
There you go.
Champ.
I was right.
Yeah, great.
There you go. 9 Ironman wins for Chris McCormack. Which
Nailed
is,
it.
Yeah, very good. Good on him.
And his career, for those who don't know much about Chris's career, his career is a very fascinating career because he started, ITU came along, won the World Championships very young, and was kind of in that transition of that first kind of 90s age group, wasn't he? It was kind of his lesson was won the World Championship, didn't make the Olympic team for Sydney, and it was a debacle. He should have been Team A.
Yeah, yes and no.
They had so many good
They had
athletes,
so
didn't
many good athletes. You could have picked bloody 10 of them probably.
Yeah, that was the problem, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did they get the right athletes?
No.
Who
Well, they
should have
didn't
gone?
get any medals.
Who would have you picked?
I
At that
can't
time?
actually. I think who did they pick? I think they picked Peter Roberts. I can't remember who they picked. Peter Robertson, Greg Bennett, somebody else. I think. Yeah.
They're
Could
so
have picked
strong.
anybody. Mm.
Yeah. And so then he got a bit annoyed. So
Yeah.
he went over to Ironman. First year in Ironman, he got 6th, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, he was pretty. He was good everywhere except for Kona. He had a lot of failures in Kona, so it was a real roller coaster.
And
to get to
it was a
Kona.
bit like Mark Allen. It took like 6 years to win Kona.
Mm.
And the thing about Chris was he was never shy.
Mm.
And he was talking shit and all the rest of it, but he wasn't really pulling it together. And then he won it. And then the next year he came back, and unfortunately he had a bike mechanic. And then he came back the next year and stellar race. Because that's when Crowe was at his best. And he took on Crowe and did well, won it twice in Kona. So legs. And he also won the 73 World Champs.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think he won 4. Because I think he won the ITU, he won the Ironman 70.3, and
I don't think he did win the 70.3 World Champs. I don't think it even existed when he was around.
okay, I'll talk about it.
Okay, I'll quickly. I'm not going to do. I was going to talk about my project 1 minute, but I'll save that for next week. I've saved that for a couple of weeks now, but I'll use that next week. But running is going well. I ran 5 times last week, which I was stoked with, and feeling pretty good. In terms of today's swim set, what did we do this morning? We did a 300 warm up where we alternated 50 freestyle, 25 back, 25 breast. Then we did 300 of kicking and drills. And then the main set, it was quite funny this morning. I wrote the main set up and I forgot to put the bracket. I put the brackets around it, but I forgot to put the number 2 next to it. So everybody's going, oh, this is a bit of a short swim. I said,
Get it again.
actually doing that twice. I said to Tom, the guy I'm swimming with, I said, you do the first set and I'll do the second set. He goes, there is no second set. Yes, there is.
Turns out
So the main set was 600 metres steady, 6 times 100, descend 1 to 3, 4 to 6. So that means going sort of steady, moderate, hard, steady, moderate, hard, 100 easy IM, and then repeated that main set again. So it was 2.6 Ks, and then did a 400 very hard. I was quite happy with my time. Did 5:17 for that. That was good. 200 warm down, 3.8 Ks.
He hasn't won it. I don't even know if he raced it. We didn't even get a top
Wasn't
3.
on.
No.
70.3 worlds.
Yeah, 2006 it started.
Was it?
Craig Alexander, remember the first few years we didn't really give much
yeah.
credit. So Craig Alexander won the first year. Lessing got set for second in the first year.
Okay.
And then Richie Cunningham, remember him?
Monday.
The Tuesday, that was our
Monday.
joke. And then we had Andy Potts won the second year.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Galindez,
Mm-hmm.
he got
It
second.
was a bit of a joke those first
Yeah,
years. Those athletes are great,
Andrew Johns.
but it was
And
a
then
flat
Terenzo won
course.
the third one.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it started to get a bit more serious. Because remember, Ray Luke won it a couple of years. So realistically, the guys who won it have all the right guys. Like,
Yeah.
Alexander, greatest of all time, one of the greatest. Potts, you know, arguably of that time. And Trenzo was a really good 7.3 athlete.
Yeah.
You know, so there's no one on it. Where you might go like Andrew Johns in third. Nothing against Andrew Johns. You probably wouldn't get a third nowadays.
Until it started moving, no one took it that seriously.
Yeah.
Once they started moving and they started having some cool locations, which they do a great job of these days, it was a bit of a joke while I was at Florida.
Females, Sam McGlone took out the first year. Caffrey, Joanna Zeiger, Julie Dibbins.
Yeah, no, it was good, but it was nothing like what it is today.
So no, but Mecca didn't even get top 3 something, and he didn't even race it. Okay, John, let's say thank you to our patrons.
Craig the Rock Nicholson.
We got Mandy T. Mac Tower.
And Chris the Combustor Apple.
And let's say thank you to our sponsor.
Form empowers swimmers at every level to reach their goals, whether they want to swim stronger, faster, swim further, or be more efficient. Get lap-by-lap motivation with real-time metrics and workout instructions right in your goggles. Check them out at formswim.com and use the promo code IM15 to get yourself $15 off.
Okay, also, if you want to become a patron of the show, we really appreciate all those people who are patrons. And if you aren't and you've always thought about it, jump on our website, go to www.imtalk.me, go support the boys and just go through the process. That way you help us do what we do. You get a bit of a gift and you go into draw to win some prizes. If you want coaching, coachjohnnewson.com. Also is Epic Camps, epiccamp.com. My podcast, Ben James Oz Show, I actually did it on how I wrote my book yesterday.
Nice.
And my book comes out next week. So I'll be giving a big plug on the show next week. I really appreciate your support on this. It's a real life passion project for me, and I'll go deep into it next week. But yeah, admittedly, it's not for you guys. It's really not for people who are doing Ironman. But I guarantee you have people in your life who aren't doing exercise and probably look up to you and probably would be, listen to your advice, and this book is designed for those people, so I'll talk about that next week. Content, age group of the week, cool websites, other feedback, IMTalkpodcast@gmail.com. John, your goss.
We had a glorious weekend in Christchurch.
Sunday, I was running in the singlet.
Oh, it was fantastic. We had it's winter, so it's going to be cold, but just at the weekend, it was great. So got out for a walk, got out for a nice run.
I do my Rapeki loop, which is like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And because I normally get up and do it in the morning, but I had some work I need to do, and so I went at like 1 in the afternoon Sunday. Just perfection.
No, it was stunning. So yeah, a bit of time outside. Did the edges on my lawn, Bevan.
Oh, mate.
Irony of that was I was cutting them up. Oh, these are beautiful edges. This is the best I've ever looked. And then I was thinking, they're cutting this lawn up in about 2 days' time. And they do this work out the front of our house. So that was a bit of a pointless exercise. I was doing one of the edges, found 2 cat shits on our lawn. I was like, bloody cats. Damn cats. We've got them everywhere around our place. So other than that,
Do you still get your guinea pigs?
Once hanging in there, we had to actually. One thing we did do at the weekend, we had to pick up. We've got a person we get hay from.
Okay.
And last time we got hay, we got like 6 bags, and it lasted bloody ages because our kids aren't cleaning out the hutch as much as they should be. And we're like, how many bags should we get this time? She's on her last legs. We'll just get 3 this time, I think. Thanks very much. So no, the weekends are kids stuff. Going watching running races. The kids had a running race, and it's a cross country where they've got hurdles in it.
Oh, wow.
And we had a bit of an argument in the car because I was telling them, you've got to do these hurdles and you've got to learn how to do it. And it's one of those things, you just got to have the confidence to do it. And the hard thing we do, if you haven't done cross country racing, doing a hurdle by itself, these are quite high hurdles. Yep. They're quite challenging as they are. But when you do it, when you're fatigued, like 2 or 3 Ks in, and these aren't the hurdles that fall over. Like these are rock solid.
Yeah, you're going to hurt yourself.
If you take off and you don't have that strength in that leg to get the bounce that you think you might have, it can turn ugly real
big
quick.
Time. The kids were all right?
They did. What was quite cool was Tom was catching the leader, and like so much so that he was only 20 metres behind, and the hurdles just before the finish. And the first lap he took the diversion because you can take a diversion. It goes a little bit longer. This time he saw he was close to the front and he managed to hurdle it. So that was good. And then the other guy just saw him coming and just opened up this withering sprint. So that was good.
Where did they do that? At Hallsall?
No, it was out in Q2.
Oh, okay, great.
On an old golf course. Quite a cool course. I was actually going to go do a bit of frisbee golf for the first time.
Oh, nice.
But
I suck at frisbee.
But then I realised the running course was actually on the frisbee golf course.
You could have hit people.
I could have
been your target. Extra points.
Quick enough. Hurry up. That was about it for me, Bevan.
Yeah, I was a bit like that myself, really. We were going to go out Saturday night, and then we just were tired. So we stayed home. And then we did the family round on Sunday night, and they got Pedro's lamb.
Oh, yep.
Oh, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like slow cooked meat?
Yeah, no, I've had Pedro's before.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And I went big time.
Mm.
Like, big plate.
Yeah.
I got to the table, because there were like 7 or 8 people staying or over for dinner. I got to the table, like it was like a pile of food.
Nice.
But there was enough for everyone. I wasn't being greedy. So other than that, John, I'm just excited. My book comes out next week. It's I'm really in that moment of doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when you do a big project like this, which you really believe in, I've put time, money, resource, and just, which is purely a passion project, and you hope it goes well.
Mm.
And we've got a strategy. So we've got a strategy around how we can help it go well. But, you do have doubt. And we actually just sold the first copy.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I don't know how a person found the website, but someone found the website. And so that's encouraging. So
You won in.
we need to sell a lot of copies to make our money back, but that's not the point. The point is it's more about helping people love movement. So I'll be talking about that next week, guys. Again, as I said before, I really appreciate your support on this book. It's called I Will Make You Passionate About Exercise. How do you take someone who's not doing exercise and make them fall in love with exercise? So we'll dig into that next week. Anyway, Jumbo, let's wrap it up.
I'm Russ.
I'm Endo.
Train hard.
Train smart. Kia kaha.